Yesterday, we got a report from Jeff Snyder that Stephen James was almost a lock for the role. But then earlier today, James Gunn turned that all around with an official announcement for who's going to play John Stewart in the DCU, and he even gave a really good reason. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about Aaron Pierre, the new John Stewart, and why James Gunn said he was the perfect man for the job. Well, when we're wrong, and it turns out the story we ran yesterday from Jeff Snyder was not correct. Jeff Snyder was reporting that he was hearing that Stephen James was getting ready to be offered the role of John Stewart, but within 24 hours, that has been completely turned around. Now, as of this morning, DC Studios and HBO have announced that Aaron Pierre will indeed be John Stewart in the upcoming Lantern series and join Kyle Chandler's Hal Jordan as the dynamic duo of space cops. Now, according to The Hollywood Reporter, the hunt for John came down to Pierre and Stephen James. This is something we've been hearing a lot, and they both took parts in screen tests alongside Kyle Chandler last Thursday and Friday. And while each, quote, had their boosters, a final decision was made yesterday. Now, since then, James Gunn has kind of reiterated why they went with Pierre, saying that his screen test was the sole reason, suggesting him and Chandler definitely have good chemistry. Right now, Pierre is probably best known playing the character of Jeremy in Rebel Ridge, which dropped on Netflix on September the 6th, and as of today is #1 on Netflix for a total of 3 weeks. Coming up in December, Aaron will take up the role of Mufasa in Barry Jenkins' animated Lion King prequel for Disney, so obviously the actor is a rising star, and those talents definitely connected with James Gunn. Now, his resume is absolutely massive, leading National Geographic series Genius MLKX, along with Foe, Brother, and The Underground Railroad, and he's currently filming The Morning Show. Honestly, I think Pierre is a great casting. He definitely has the physicality of a John Stewart. But at the end of the day, let's be real, he has the look. His eyes are very piercing, and I can totally see him being an ultra-intimidating version of the character. John has a physicality to him that is a must-have on the screen, and honestly, between the two actors, I think he might have the better energy for the character. Now, Pierre is an interesting casting because he's been kicked around in superhero circles for a really long time, and this wasn't something many people knew. Marvel Studios actually had him lined up as one of the potential cast in Blade, alongside Mahershala Ali, but since then that script has evolved so many times and he was written out of the project. Now, like we were saying yesterday, Jeff Snyder named Stewart James as the frontrunner, which was pretty interesting because My Time to Shine Hello was the one saying Pierre's casting was a sure thing and actually beat Gunn to the announcement. Now, in any case, James Gunn hit on the most important thing, chemistry. The energy between these two characters is going to be super important, and you definitely need to differentiate the two characters. John Stewart's entrance into the comics was a really big deal, and as a new Lantern in the DC universe, he's definitely going to be a bit different. One of the most interesting things about John Stewart from day one is he didn't wear a mask, which kind of separated him from Hal Jordan at the time, and I'm curious if these little steps, even beyond the mask, are going to be a big part of the upcoming series and used to kind of define the character. Now, like we were saying, it seems to me at this point after Lanterns with an older Hal Jordan, John Stewart is going to be the Green Lantern of the upcoming Justice League. So this casting is going to have long-term reverberations throughout the DC universe and something that will ultimately be pretty important. Now, as far as the show goes, we know it kicks off production in January. We know Chris Mundy is serving as showrunner with Damon Lindelof and Tom King writing the scripts, and James Hawes, who directed Slow Horses, Penny Dreadful, and The Mist, will at this point helm the first 2 episodes. Now, one thing I found pretty curious in this whole story was that obviously the showrunner, Chris Mundy, had some input on this casting, but James Gunn is definitely front and center in these details and was the one that made it pretty clear it was about the chemistry. So even on these projects, Gunn is not directing or directly producing. Well, he's got a big hand in it, and it seems to me, particularly with this character, it was really important because we know where John Stewart is going in the future. Now, as of right now, Lanterns doesn't have a confirmed release date. Many of us are suspecting it will be early 2026, and DC will probably try to figure out how to fit it into that schedule to coincide and support the release of Supergirl in theaters. The DC Universe is finally coming together. We now not only have our Superman, some members of the Authority, some members of the Justice League International, we now have all 3 Green Lanterns in the form of Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, Aaron Pierre as John Stewart, and of course, Nathan Fillion taking up the role of Guy Gardner, who will be the first Lantern to appear in the upcoming Superman film. The chemistry between these characters should be pretty interesting, and by the time the series comes to life, I think fans are going to be more than ready for this Green Lantern mythos to explode and define the full-on cosmic universe of DC Studios. But until that happens, we're going to have to wait and see. Now, before you take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, ring that bell for all the updates, and make sure you get every notification because we do daily Marvel and DC content and we don't want you to miss any news.